Ever heard of a killer? I drop bombs like Hiroshima.
Somebody said, look at LeakYou video. What the fuck is LeakYou? Is it like a site? What's LeakYou? LeakYou. Is it a YouTube channel? Oh, shit. Oh, all right, bet. Here we go.
Please hit the like. Thank you.
One, two, three, four.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I hope you all have been having a really good weekend. Happy Sunday to those of you preparing to return to work tomorrow. As your work week begins, as we come down to the end of 2024. Can you all believe that? We are almost at the end of 2024. But listen, I am coming through to finish up a video series, you may want to call it, that I started a little while back regarding the whole Afrika Bambaataa saga, and a very in-depth report that was written up by Hip Hop Stands with Survivors. Shout out to Leila Wills and the Hip Hop Stands with Survivors organization, who has done, a great job, quite a lot actually, for hip hop, including the absolute in-depth expose known as Trapped in a Culture. And so what we're going to be doing here today is finishing off this in-depth report. Okay. This in-depth report, special report, actually. Hip Hop Stands with Survivors End Child Sexual Abuse. Stop Protecting Predators. A very special report that we did part one on and was reading up on a few weeks back. So I'm coming to finish this up. It's been a little crazy for me the last few weeks. Y'all, I ain't even gonna lie, I've barely been online. Barely been online, but when I wanted to finish this and this report, reviewing this in-depth report, I wanted to make sure I put 100% in it. And we're going to be starting right back where we finished from. Give me just a moment here. I'm actually getting to that particular spot. We're going to start in the politics of hip hop. And we're just going to continue revealing and reading up, especially for those that maybe can't read, prefer audio, prefer to listen, when somebody's reviewing report. A lot of people like audiobooks. There's some people, for some reason, may have a disability or whatnot. And they'll be able to dig into this and hear this. But listen, we're going to start at the politics of hip hop. We're going to go ahead and finish this off. Let me bring... There we go. Let's bring it back on up here. And we're going to start right here. And I'm just going to continue on. And let's review some more of this, shall we? The politics of hip hop. Since news of the child sexual allegations broke in 2016, survivors and the public were demanding statements from hip hop legends. Outside of a few lone voices like Lord Jamar, Talib Kweli, Daddy-O, Chuck D, and Eric B, it was business as usual. Rocky Bucano and the UHHM stood silent even though one of its co-founders was being accused of sexually abusing underage boys. The story dragged on for years until it fell off the radar. Bambaataa kept getting gigs, and hip-hop celebrities like Snoop wished him a happy birthday. Survivors were ridiculed on social media, and a New York radio station previously laughed one off before hanging up on him. The story was revived when this writer released interview footage of survivors and experts under Trapped in a Culture before the Child Victims Act 2021 look back window deadline. The footage received over 1 million views. Then, in August 2021, John Doe filed suit and the case went viral. New York Mayor Eric Adams and Senator Chuck Schumer recently did what Bucano and the UHHM have done. Ignored the historic and internet-breaking John Doe case and allegations against museum co-founder Bambaataa and the Zulu Nation. Adams announced celebrations planned in 2023 to observe hip-hop's 50th anniversary without acknowledging John Doe and the other survivors of hip-hop celebrities. Present with the mayor were longtime members of the Zulu Nation who are also involved with the museum. Cutman LG and Mickey Benson. Rocky Bucano shouted out the Zulu Nation to sparse applause, and Grandmaster Flash shouted out Bambaataa. You all know recently the mayor of New York, Eric Adams, he's in some legal trouble right now. He's in a lot of legal trouble. I know that's a video for another day, but it's just interesting to see that photo when you think about Eric Adams' recent legal troubles, going so far as to try to subvert the system for high-ranking people in Turkey. Subvert his own system in New York. Stupid stuff. Building permits, that sort of a thing. But yeah, that's just very interesting to see that photo. Okay. Anyway. Survivors of Bambaataa in the UZN considered Mayor Adams standing with Zulus and Bambaataa affiliates a slap in the face. And Bucano appeared as the frontman for Bambaataa, assigned to carry Bambaataa in the Zulu Nation's water. The mayor is sending a message that victims of sexual abuse mean nothing if they are black and brown. I'm sure he wouldn't have stood with Harvey Weinstein at all. He would have backed down after the first Me Too tweet by a white actress, said one survivor of Bambaataa and the UZN. Adams also stood with Russell Simmons, to the chagrin of Drew Dixon and the other black women who accused Simmons of sexual assault. Dixon tweeted, "It's disgraceful that Eric Adams for NYC platformed Russell Simmons. This is an insult to all survivors in NYC. I'm sending you strength and love. I'm especially mindful of survivors torn between their love for hip-hop and black culture and the struggle to love themselves. Besides what survivors think is a blatant insult and lack of sensitivity, Mayor Adams' announcement and close relationship with the Universal Hip Hop Museum, which Bambaataa co-founded, are under scrutiny. Taxpayer dollars would obviously fund these celebratory events. Taxpayers also absorb the financial burdens that nonprofits do not incur because of their supposed work to benefit the public. The Universal Hip Hop Museum is slated to receive or has received $9.75 million in taxpayer funds. Rocky Bucano is the co-founder, executive director, chairman of the board, and president of the museum. The collective Hip Hop stands with survivors, supporters of John Doe, and the men who came forward are in favor of a hip hop museum, but someone else has to run it. Bucano has deep-rooted relationships with Bambaataa and the Zulu Nation, and his personal loyalties have demonstrated that he is incapable of ousting the Zulus from the museum, and he should not be the shepherd of public funds. To date, Bucano has not addressed the allegations nor condemned Bambaataa, the Zulu Nation, and alleged enablers. It was proven in the cases of R. Kelly, Jeffrey Epstein, and the Catholic Church that sexual crimes that were committed continuously and over long periods of time could not have happened without the aid of enablers. Founders of the museum. This is the next chapter here. And what we see in this graphic is an email from Young Woo and Associates, a picture of Young Woo and Afrika Bambaataa sharing visions for Mercado Marabo. And then we have another picture over here from left to right, Adam Zucker, Director of Business Development, Young Woo and Associates, Grandmaster Melly Mel, lead rapper and main songwriter for Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, 2007 inductee to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Bronx native, Cutman LG, Sirius XM radio personality, Bronx native, Mickey Benson, manager of Ice-T and industry veteran, Bronx native, Grand Wizard Theodore, legendary hip-hop DJ widely credited as the inventor of scratching, Rocky Bucano, industry veteran, Afrika Bambaataa, Aminika of Universal Hip Hop Culture, Young Woo, principal and founder of Young Woo and Associates, and brother Shakim. In this this particular, I shouldn't say it's an email. There's no headers. It just says from Young Woo and Associates, and then a contact Rubenstein Associates, a phone number, then an email for Robin Vergas. But it is titled, "The Legends of Hip Hop Reject the Ice Hockey Proposal and Support Mercado Marabo. Young Woo and Associates Plan for Redevelopment of the Kingsbridge Armory." So it's the Bronx, September 11th, 2012. Legendary DJ Afrika Bambaataa brought the Hip Hop Federation, an alliance of hip hop royalty that appears to be growing week by week, to the offices of Young Woo and Associates. The group bidding to transform the Bronx's Kingsbridge Armory into Mercado Marabo. Young Woo and Associates redevelopment plan is based on creating a modern-day community plaza or town square, brining a diverse mix of creative marketplace, food, entertainment, and cultural space, and sports and recreational uses. Last month, the Bronx native, pioneer, and godfather of hip-hop signed a letter of intent to help create an international center for hip-hop at Mercado Marabo, including creating a museum and performance space celebrating the art form, if Young Woo and Associates proposal is selected by the NYC EDC. An international museum of hip hop located in the Bronx, where the movement started, will attract worldwide recognition to the Bronx and bring visitors from around the globe to visit Mercado Marabo and explore Bronx, said Afrika Bambaataa. Mercado Marabo is a place where people from the neighborhood will actually want to come to with their family to spend the day playing sports, watching a movie, interacting with other cultures, and maybe catch a concert or special performance. Young Wu and Associates plan will not only preserve and honor the culture of hip hop, but will also create a unique cultural and community center for Bronx residents that provides job creation, professional support, and general business opportunities for the neighborhood and beyond, said Grand Wizard Theodore. Mr. Wu noted that the addition of a hip-hop museum further completes our plan to make Mercado Marabo an iconic cultural destination that will draw millions of new visitors into the Kingsbridge neighborhood to experience unique and exciting offerings such as the world's first advanced 4D cinema, the largest rock climbing wall, concerts, sports exhibitions, and more, Mr. Wu added. Mr. Bambaataa, the Hip Hop Federation, plan to meet with the borough president, Ruben Diaz Jr., as early as tomorrow to champion the Mercado Marabo project. The people of the Bronx do not yet appreciate all the details in Young Wu and Associates' plan, said Grandmaster Melly Mel, adding that the Bronx needs to know that the two options for the Armory are either to bring an ice hockey center or Mercado Marabo. In addition to meeting with Ruben Diaz, the Hip Hop Federation called upon other political leaders to meet with them as true representatives for the community. We are from the Bronx, born and raised. We next hope to meet with Councilmember Cabrera, Mayor Bloomberg, and the EDC so that they actually consider what the people of the Bronx will really want with the space and choose Mercado Marabo. On a telephone call in 2017, Bucano said the museum was not Bambaataa's idea, it was his. But it was not Bucano's name and photograph, real estate developer Young Wu plastered all over social media, it was Bambaataa's. Wu was courting Bronx residents to back his plan for the Kingsbridge Armory to become a mall against another developer's proposed ice skating center. Bucano was a part of the Gachos basketball program, and Wu had already secured them as a possible tenant. Zulu Nation members Afrika Bambaataa, Mickey Benson, Cutman LG, and Brother Shakim met with Wu in August 2012 along with Bucano, Grand Wizard Theodore, and Melly Mel. Bambaataa and Melly Mel signed letters of intent with Wu to help create an international museum of hip-hop, and they hit the campaign trail. KRS-One supported the plan. Bambaataa promised Wu he would bring more celebrities and even the Hip Hop Federation. It is not clear if the Hip Hop Federation is made up of humans or Bambaataa's perceived intergalactic beings or members of his cult. Mickey Benson. After Star broke the story with Ronald Savage's interview in 2016, Savage recorded and leaked a phone call with longtime UZN member and UHHM affiliate Mickey Benson. Benson berated Savage for trying to destroy the Zulu Nation's brand and alluded to the heat the organization could face. When you take it upon yourself to say that you were a minor and Bam did this and Bam did that, that ain't cool, B. You don't know what they'll do with that. How many people were sitting there? How many people were standing there? That's not cool, B. You are trying to destroy a brand that I'm a part of. As a former employee of Strong City Records, a label Rocky Bucano founded, Savage is also seeking a feature in the Hip Hop Museum. He said he thought his coming out against Bambaataa back in 2016 may hinder that. Lord Jumar of Brand Nubian referred to Strong City Records as a Zulu Nation stronghold. Savage, a former crate boy for Jazzy J, recently recanted his story and went on a social media spree to clear Bambaataa and the Zulu Nation of his previous assertions. The Zulu Nation had nothing to do with what happened to me. As far as that person, Bambaataa, I pretended to be older, and he thought I was older. That's why I can forgive him. Does that mean we're going to play basketball together? No, but I will do a record with him. On the same phone call, Benson gives a haunting account of what could happen to detractors of Bambaataa and Zulu Nation. Anybody else, we'd be like, F that N. We tearing that N head off. Stomp him the F out. He'd be missing in action. Now, on the right side here, you see a post. It says Hassan Campbell with Cuban Crisis and 17 others. The caption says, "Why would I lie on you out of all people?" And then the photo has a caption that says, "I had sex with Bambaataa in front of a child, and now I'm going to take him to court to shut him up." And then the caption for the overall photo says, Hassan Campbell's Facebook post about Sean Cutman LG Thomas. Next chapter, Sean Thomas, aka Cutman LG. Next, at the meeting with Cutman LG, a friend of Bambaataa and a longtime member of the Zulu Nation, Sean Thomas, Cutman LG, is the head of music programming at the museum. Hassan Campbell, one of the men who said he was abused by Bambaataa beginning at age 12, posted several memes on social media accusing Thomas of having sex with Bambaataa in front of him when he was a child. Thomas would have been approximately 26, and Bambaataa would have been approximately 32. After Bucano and Curtis Blow were told of this allegation, Campbell said Thomas called and threatened to sue him. After Campbell would not back down, Thomas pleaded with him to stop exposing him. Campbell acquiesced at the time, and Thomas continued to be employed by the museum and serve on the board. Curtis Blow later resigned, citing health reasons. After 8 years of being a lifetime board member of the museum's board, Thomas has now been removed after Hip Hop Stands with Survivors began its inquiry. Brother Shakim. After Thomas is Brother Shakim. Zulu Nation members say Brother Shakim is Bambaataa's longtime personal assistant, and he matches the description of the person who accepted service on Bambaataa's behalf at Kenny Snyder's house in the John Doe lawsuit. After Shakim accepted service, Bambaataa left the country. Melly Mel. When DJ Vlad asked Melly Mel about the child sexual abuse allegations last year, the museum co-founder told DJ Vlad, "It wasn't like people didn't know. You could have people that will deny it. You could have people that would say they don't know. I'm saying everybody knew." Vlad pressed him further. "Being gay is, perfectly acceptable. Not a big deal, but messing with underage boys is something completely different." Melly Mel answered, "I said everybody knew. It ain't like it was a mystery." Holy Hip Hop. Bambaataa is the god of universal hip hop culture, and KRS-One is the prophet. He leads his own religion called the Temple of Hip Hop and has written a Bible-like scripture, the Gospel of Hip Hop. KRS-One has said hip-hop is the world's most ancient civilization. In 2001, at the International Hip-Hop Conference for Peace, over 300 music pioneers and professionals, elected officials, and United Nations delegates heard KRS-One deliver the Hip-Hop Declaration of Peace. Part of the speech drew special emphasis on children. Hip-hop is the name of our collective consciousness. As a conscious way of life, we recognize our influence on society, especially on children, and we forever shall keep the welfare of both in mind. A journalist interviewed KRS-One in 2017 about the child sexual abuse allegations, and he said, "These people work for the FBI." Later in the same interview, he said, "If anybody has a problem with Afrika Bambaataa, they should quit hip hop." Zulu Nation seed money and secret relationship with the museum, regardless of who came up with the museum idea. And if the Hip Hop Federation contains aliens, members of KRS-One's ancient civilization, or actual historians, Bambaataa touted the project to his Zulu Nation members and collected money for it. Everywhere he went, he was the point person, on the ground and in headlines. Even the earlier trailer for the museum has Bambaataa's picture repeatedly shown throughout the video. And hold that thought, because I do want to bring that up. Hold that thought. Let's show this trailer here.
Brothers and sisters, get ready to witness and experience hip-hop culture in the borough where the art form originated. The only museum where you'll be able to feel, hear, and touch the exhibits and interactive displays featuring the early pioneers, the groundbreakers, the earth shakers, and the stars, leaders of the true school and today's new school. This is the Universal Hip-Hop Museum coming to the Bronx 2017.
Send press and media inquiries to info@uhhm.org.
A video that is still up on Rocky Bucana's page. Okay, the Universal Hip Hop Museum coming to the Bronx in 2017. I did play that in a different speed, folks. Interesting. Interesting. You know, let me just stop and say this. What a part of history this is, this whole report. I mean, it captures a part, of history with hip hop that I think people will be, paying attention to for many more years to come. You can just, why would Bambaataa or anyone in his team put so much effort into trailers, right, for museum? Obviously, he has a lot of push for it, right? A lot of push for it. But yes, his photos all through it. Let's continue. Interesting. Now, a year before the sexual abuse allegations surfaced, Buchanan wrote a letter of appeal to the UZN membership in 2015 asking for donations. The mission of the museum is not just to preserve hip-hop history, which is extremely important, but to also serve as the culture's governing body, wrote Buchanan. Although the museum says they have no corporate or organizational relationship with the Universal Zulu Nation, Buchanan positioning the museum as the culture's governing body and soliciting donations under this premise could not have happened without the approval and partnership of Afrika Bambaataa and the UZN. Bambaataa and the UZN have claimed for decades that he is the founder and Amun-Ra of Universal hip-hop culture. And being intergalactic, His signature term is the word universal. While Bucano and others were drumming up support for Wu's mall, the museum did not exist until Bambaataa came on board. Bambaataa put his stamp on the project, and magically the word universal was added to the museum's title. Bambaataa himself spoke publicly about starting a museum on on the Ed Lover Show in 2016, and survivors who were in the UZN said Bambaataa used their dues money to help start it. So these photos here, both of them actually, they're captioned "Gathering of Christ Church outside SOBs in Manhattan protesting Bambaataa's booking. The club pulled him from the show." Photos by Leila Wills. And you can see the signs there. You've got one that says "Protect Our Children," another sign that says "Club Stop Supporting Pedophiles," and another "Hip Hop Stand Up for Children." Now look at this interesting letter, right? Hip hop history, dear friends, family, board members, and supporters of hip hop. I'm writing a personal letter of appeal for your support to raise funds for the Universal Hip Hop Museum, the official museum of hip hop culture. The mission of the museum is not just to preserve hip hop history, which is extremely important, but to also serve as the culture's governing body, leading the way forward in the global socioeconomic advancement of hip hop. Our goal is to uplift the disadvantaged with innovative educational and cultural arts programming, tech and art incubation, social justice and political reform, and economic empowerment. Hip hop has always been a force of change, and establishment of the Universal Hip Hop Museum will ensure that hip hop will continue to be a force of positive change worldwide. Your tax-deductible contribution will go directly towards development of the museum. The Universal Hip Hop Museum will be launching a virtual museum in 2016 and begin construction on a brick and mortar building by 2017. Now check this out. It says the suggested donation amount is $42 in recognition of hip hop's 41st anniversary plus 1 year for the Zulu Nation's anniversary. However, you can give any amount that you feel comfortable with. No amount is too large or too small. Every dollar counts. Please share this email appeal with 10 friends and ask them to also support this very important cause. We are trying to reach 100,000 people. Everybody and anybody who loves hip hop should support this cause. Then there looks to be a, SIC, seek. Y'all know what it means if you read a lot. Anyway, it goes on to say, I thank you on behalf Vice Chairman Ndaba Mandela and the founding members of the UHHM Afrika Bambaataa, Curtis Blow, Grandmaster Melly Mel, Grand Wizard Theodore, Joe Conzo, Sean Thomas, and Mickey Benson for your generous donation. Click the link to make your donation today. Warmest regards, Rocky Bucano, President, Universal Hip Hop Museum, Inc. Let me see if this link still works. I'm curious. I am so curious. Stand by, folks. I know it's been a while, but I still want to see if the link works. I'm curious. Yes, it does. Now, the campaign, it does say the campaign is closed. And it looks like there were 15 backers with a total raised of $867. And there was a flexible goal of 1 million actually on this particular campaign. And today is Sunday, October 27, 2024. So they raised $867 of a $1 million flexible goal, it says. Okay, let's continue here. So, after the gathering of Christ Church held a public demonstration at a New York club against the booking of Afrika Bambaataa in 2017, the Zulu Nation began keeping event locations secret. On November 12th, 2022, the UHHM hosted the Zulu Nation's anniversary celebration. Prior to the event, hip hop stands with survivors called the museum, and representatives falsely denied the event was taking place. Bambaataa loyalists still involved with the museum, like Bucano, Thomas, Benson, and more, most likely represent his interests, and UHHM is not being forthright with their relationship. The UZN experienced an internal rift when several younger chapter leaders stood with the survivors and separated from the organization. Bambaataa and the old Zulu Nation Guard were furious, and none of these younger chapters, that include survivors whose work became the backbone of the UZN's public reputation, were at museum press conferences or a part of UHHM activities. Now, an open secret, Cool DJ Red alerts security. The child sexual abuse allegations against Bambaataa and the UZN are said to be an open secret in hip-hop. Even in giving the benefit of the doubt, it defies belief to assume Bucano never heard of them in his decades-long relationship with them. Bucano's personal relationship with Bambaataa goes back to before his days at Strong City Records. What stands as a fact is that the UHHM has never acknowledged the survivors and continues to promote Bambaataa and the UZN. After the story broke in 2016, many people came forward with information. A member of Red Alert's security team said this: "I was telling my man Max years ago about this clown ass in Afrika Bambaataa. Check this out. He had a party back in 06, 07 in Atlanta. I was there doing security for DJ Red Alert, who also happened to live in Atlanta at that time. DJ Red Alert, see, he told me when he took me there, yo, shit might not look right, but he's a pioneer." The security guard continued, "It's part of my business, so I can shit more about it," what Red Alert said, "because it makes my credibility as a bodyguard fucked up. So we get into the spot, and when I get into the spot, Bambaataa, is sitting in a chair. He's got little Puerto Rican boys dressed up like Egyptian princesses, feeding him grapes and giving him whatever he was drinking." There was a lot of Zulu ends there and a lot of industry people there too. Red Alert recently did an interview with Lord Jamar, claiming he had never seen nor heard of any abuse being committed by Bambaataa and the UZN. In the above picture, Bucano is apologizing to Red Alert for an unknown disagreement with a prominent picture promoting the Zulu Nation in the UHHM's DJ booth. And that's the photo there. And I actually remember this interview. I did see that interview in full with that security guard talking about Bambaataa's parties, and this particular party where he had Puerto Rican boys dressed up like Egyptian princesses. So strange. Importance of the John Doe versus Afrika Bambaataa and Zulu Nation case. The Bambaataa case proved important to hip-hop fans around the world by starting an international conversation within the black and brown hip-hop demographic. Many survivors disclosed their own stories for the first time. This writer still gets letters and emails from men who say Bambaataa abused them, but could not bring themselves to come forward. When longtime Zulu Nation member and Bambaataa loyalist Richard Colon, a.k.a. Crazy Legs, was outed for alleged sexual harassment of underage and of age female dancers, grooming them online asking for porn, and sending them lewd photographs, a collective swiftly appealed to the U.S. Olympics to not include him in any honors or ceremonies. Founder of Rocksteady Crew, Richard Colon, aka Crazy Legs, has been using his power of influence to sexually harass women. Not only so, this behavior has gone on for a long time without being checked. He has failed to take accountability for his actions, and the B-boy, B-girl community needs to take action. This man should not be involved with Red Bull or Olympics, as he is a proven sexual predator. Crazy Legs denied the allegations and said he had behavior that was symptomatic of being in a deep depression. A list of allegations against Crazy Legs can be found, and there's a clickable link here. Now, a rep from the U.S. Olympics said that Cologne is not currently, nor has been involved with the USOPC break-in program in any capacity. USOPC is the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee. Now, this is a Child USA fact sheet. The think tank for child protection, window legislation for child sex abuse statutes of limitations. 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys will be sexually abused. Child molesters on average will abuse at least 150 children. Child sexual abuse costs the federal government over $9 billion each year. The trauma of sex abuse often leads to depression, PTSD, alcohol and opioid abuse, and many physical ailments, frequently delaying disclosure. The average age for disclosure is 52 years old. Known as delayed disclosure. Most child victims of sexual assault disclose, if they disclose at all, during adulthood with a median age of 48 and an average age of 52. And what this graphic is saying is basically that people that have been sexually assaulted don't say anything, or when they do, half their life is gone. On average, being over 50 years old, being on average the age of 52, with a median age at 48 to report. And our life expectancy is 77. 25 to 33% cases are never even reported. Child endangerment, social and corporate responsibility in hip hop. Statistics show that 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys are victims of child sexual abuse, and laws to prosecute offenders have not caught up with the data. Research compiled by the think tank Child USA shows over 50% of victims of child sexual abuse have delayed disclosure and do not disclose the abuse until after the age of 50. Some never disclose at all. In the John Doe case, the look-back window provided an opportunity for a civil suit, but in most cases of delayed disclosure, the law leaves the victims with no road to justice. Corporations and social institutions requiring lawsuits or criminal charges before they consider claims valid often leave victims in an impossible conundrum. The Universal Hip Hop Museum's public position has been to ignore the allegations while continuing to work with and promote Afrika Bambaataa and the Universal Zulu Nation. The museum's legal disclaimer of having no corporate or organizational relationship with the UZN is on the website. However, the Zulu Nation could not have a formal organizational relationship with any company because, on paper, they do not exist. Unless there is a filing hiding under a Native American peace treaty, this does not mean the UZN and Bambaataa himself are not involved with the institution. It simply means the two organizations do not have a formal partnership, as could be the case with Madison Square Garden and the Knicks. Hip Hop Stands with Survivors is demanding accountability and social responsibility from the museum, and for the museum to stop treating the public like it's stupid while spending its money. As a 501c3 tax exempt organization, the museum has not declared its social responsibility and position for survivors who say one of its co founders sexually violated them. Others involved may have enabled the perpetrators, and others may have taken part in the abuse and cover up. The museum has had no public discussion on what it is doing as hip hop's so called governing body to ensure the safety of minors and to make minors of not only Bambaataa and the UZN, Russell Simmons, and others feel heard, but all survivors of sexual abuse, many of whom are fans of hip hop. The UHHM has declared itself as the official record of hip hop, and with an extreme lack of sensitivity and consideration for the victims, Bambaataa's triggering picture is displayed prominently on its website. Bukano and the museum are sending a powerful message by proudly promoting Bambaataa, as in the days of old when the Zulu nation made everyone tremble. What they do not realize is that when it comes to social justice, statistics suggest more members of the public would identify with survivors than Bambaataa's celebrity and reputation as a pedophile. Rocky Bukano and the UHHM will not be allowed to bring child and teen programming into that institution under the current leadership. Hip Hop Stands with Survivors has a duty to protect kids, even if the UHHM will not. A public institution positioned as hip hop's governing body and hip hop's official record, using millions of public dollars, has responsibility and expectations Rocky Bukano and the museum have failed to fulfill. Bukano congratulating himself on the museum's journey and highlighting old friends while ignoring the elephant in the room for several years and even promoting the UZN have made the museum's nonprofit status, public funds, Zulu Nation seed money, child endangerment, and Bukano's resignation focal points. Bukano cannot absolve Bambaataa and the UZN of child sexual abuse when neither defended themselves in court. Don't make me over. Corporations in the business of hip hop and black and brown survivors. Black and brown women and men are still struggling to receive the same level of broad support white survivors received during the Me Too movement. Bambaataa, Russell Simmons, and Charlemagne the God have been allowed to reinvent themselves in the public eye and continue to enjoy celebrity status, while claims of abuse have apparently been waved off as unimportant chatter. A holy leader is Bambaataa. Simmons is a peaceful yogi giving Ye advice. Charlemagne is a mandatory stop on the Democratic stump trail, and Crazy Legs helps Puerto Rico during storms, all while their alleged victims have needed therapy and suffered from dysfunction and emotional trauma for their entire lives. Jessica Reed, a black woman, tearfully and repeatedly recounted her story of being sexually assaulted by Charlemagne. Millions of people heard her, just like the Bambaataa allegations, yet he is still employed by the Breakfast Club, and Bukano sat on his show. Charlemagne even laughed about drugging a woman without her knowledge before having sex with her and got on his knees to smell a chair after Jennifer Lopez was seated there. All of these eat away at the psyche of survivors and their sympathizers. What message are they sending to the youth? If someone violates you, keep quiet, because we worship celebrities over anything. And it's money over everything. Black and brown victims don't matter, said one man. I don't remember any white person having to jump through hoops to get corporations to hold perpetrators accountable. But these guys are getting away with it right in front of our faces. If this happened to their own kids, it would be a different story, said another man. And as you can see there to the right is a screenshot of the video Tasha K did with Jessica Reed titled The Untold Story of Jessica Reed. I was just 15 when Charlemagne the God violated me. In conclusion, the Wu development proposal fell through, and the Universal Hip Hop Museum is now scheduled to open in 2024 at Bronx Point. The same year, breakdancing will be added to the U.S. Olympics. Bambaataa became the god of universal hip hop culture while he was allegedly sexually abusing and trafficking underage boys. Others covered up the abuse or just stood by silently. One survivor said of Bambaataa, "I believe he got his inspiration from us. He was happy during this time when he was abusing us." Hip Hop Stands with Survivors is calling for Rocky Bucano's resignation and an end to the Universal Hip Hop Museum's ties, promotion, and hiring of the Universal Zulu Nation. With a 3-person board, one of which was non-independent, Bucano attempted to be a well-planted, permanent museum fixture that could not be challenged. If this had remained the case, Hip Hop Stands with Survivors was prepared to challenge the UHHM's nonprofit status as a public institution. We still oppose the use of public funds under his leadership and will not allow child and teen programming to happen until a reasonable person takes the helm. New York elected officials will not be allowed to use public funds to glorify, employ, or benefit Bambaataa and his enablers, and the UHHM has not made it clear how the public that is funding hip-hop's governing body gets a say in the museum's relationships, affiliations, and governance over hip-hop. Rocky Bucano's compromising relationships with Bambaataa and Universal, the Zulu Nation, make him incapable of handling a public institution and public funds. If he was going to cut museum ties with the Universal Zulu Nation, he would have done it already. He is running the museum like it is his own friendship reunion club from the 1970s. The criminal element has always existed in hip-hop, but several men came forward with horrible stories of abuse, and there is an active court case accusing Bambaataa and the UZN of the worst crimes imaginable: the sexual abuse and sex trafficking of a vulnerable and defenseless 12-year-old boy, a case that Bambaataa nor the Zulu Nation bothered answering. At 50 years old, perhaps it is time for hip-hop to grow up and join the rest of society in instituting no-tolerance measures for sexual abuse and giving pedophiles, rapists, and their enablers no place to hide and prosper in corporate silence. We look forward to this swift resolution. Hip Hop Stands with Survivors. You all, this all the history, just in this report alone is so troubling. And if you go watch part 1, where we talked about, Bambaataa suffering a stab wound, and a lot of details too about the abuse he's inflicted on people and his coming up so-called, coming of age, I guess you could say. And some of the history around his time in Bronx River. Staggering, to say the least, man. And I'm just, you all, listen. I wonder to myself if Bambaataa will ever face any real if the victims, I should say, will ever get justice against him. He has somehow managed to avoid accountability like the plague. He really has. He somehow managed to avoid it. Right now, from my understanding, the lawsuit that was filed against him by John Doe, my understanding last I checked, he hadn't even responded to it. As if he didn't know what was going on. But listen, you all, that concludes this report, or my reading, I should say, of this report. And again, I encourage you guys to definitely check this out and read it for yourselves as well. You can always go again to part 1 and listen to the reading of this report. But listen, before I get up out of here, guys, allow me to pay a few bills if you don't mind. Shout out to the LeakYou community. Please join us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music.
Please hit the like. Thank you.
Guys, I appreciate each and every one of you for coming through. I will be live later on today to talk about, of course, what y'all think I'm going to be talking about. It'll be a surprise. How about I don't even mention it. I'll let it be a surprise. But I do appreciate each and every one of you. I will catch you all on the next live stream. Until next time.
The judgment sentence that you are an asshole. The trial is over. Thank you, everybody.
Let's play a game. You have 10 seconds to take all your stuff and get out of my life. 10, 9, 8.
God bless you, motherfucker.
You're really smart. Like really, really, really smart like I am.